Hey everyone, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 11th day of May, 2023. Well, with the 11, we have a master number there for the master numbers are 11, 22, and 33. I think 44 is too, but I'm not. I think that's inner strength. 33 is Christ consciousness. 22 is the cosmic builder or the master builder. So that's, to me, that's profound soul level change. But 11 is about awakening and enlightenment and just general spirituality, that alignment with spirit, basically. And so it's a very powerful number today, but it's also opening a doorway, I think, to greater understanding about things. Not seeing it from the ego standpoint, but from seeing it from a soul standpoint, and trying to understand the bigger picture of what's going on here today, or over the next few days, or what have you. So that's kind of interesting. I pulled these runes already, and I'm going to keep them. I've done this a couple of times. I don't know. I woke up too soon. So anyway, Sewillow is the rune for today. Sewillow is an as above, so below rune. Perfect for an 11 energy day, really. And it's Kenaz skewed above and below. So again, it's very similar to the 11 energy of awakening and enlightenment and clarity. Only this is soul level clarity, and in basically infusing that into your physical reality, your physical awareness, the ego awareness, if you will. In a sense, it gives the ability to transmute ego into spirit, so that the ego is not driving the awareness, not driving the vehicle, basically, that it's really the soul that's doing that. The below side of things today were Rubeus. Now, Rubeus, its complement is Albus, and so there you're looking at the sage and the wise individual, the wise mentor. Again, clarity is another one. So there's a there's a lack of that implied here with Rubeus. Rubeus is, I've said this before, when you're looking at two other geomancy runes, Pur and Puella. Again, you're looking at two sides of the same coin with a geomancy rune and its complement, and Rubeus and Albus are two sides of the same coin. So here you're looking at a misuse of force. It would be Pur on steroids, a little boy who never had any guidance or any boundaries or anything like that. And so the lack of impulse control carries through to adulthood in that respect and becomes Rubeus. And Rubeus is somebody that you really cannot trust. That's very ego-driven, very service to self, versus his complement Albus, which we would consider service to others. And so it's a very, it'd be the con man in your life, someone you can't trust, someone who can't seem to tell the truth, who lies continually, and we see evidence of that in our world right now. And it's perplexing, because truth doesn't seem to matter anymore. The facts don't matter. Verifiable facts don't seem to matter anymore. And that's the flow here I get with Sewillow and Rubeus. So we can think of this today in terms of, it's time to wake up from the con person, the person that's conning you. Essentially, you got to wake up. You've got to understand. Use your intuition. If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. If you're missing something, and it's not because you can't see it. It's because they don't want you to. So it has nothing to do with how aware you are or not. Or how much responsibility you take or not. It's about having somebody, another force in your life, that seeks to deceive you in a way that maybe you can't figure out until it's too late. It's one of those kinds dichotomies here. To see Sewillow and Rubius together, it's like, okay, pay attention. Somebody's going to do something here, or is in the process of doing something that is not right, that's not honest, and you may not be able to know the exact details of it, but something in the back of your mind is saying, wait a minute, pay attention. And so that's what I think this is. Both sides of the equation can be very powerful. Sewillow's a very powerful rune of the will, but at the same time, so is Rubius. And so we see so much of this conning going on, people taking advantage of other people, people using other people, people blaming other people for their own stuff that they do. Somehow, it somehow they deserved. It's like the whole cognitive dissonance kind of thing, where someone is harming you but then blaming you for it. It's like, well, it's your fault. You let me do it. Yeah, my husband and I, we've had way too many experiences with people. In fact, one guy even said, well, you let me get away with it. It's like, no, nobody let you do anything. You just did it. But you see, that's how they have such a distorted view of what they're doing, that, it's all service to self. And it's a very powerful, seductive kind of thing with some people. And they can't let go of it. So they are who they are. And that's kind of what I think this is. Something's coming into play here. And if your intuition is saying, yeah, something's not right here, I don't know that I believe this person, you probably can't. So it kind of is what it is there. And you're going to have to take whatever steps you can to protect yourself. But let's take a look at the, take a look at the cards here. And see what they have to say. Well, we have the Page of Swords. We have the Queen of Cups. So we have 2 cards from the court. And we also have the Devil. So maybe we're on track here with the runes. Maybe this is where we're actually going with this. The Page of Swords, let's just start with, I'm just going to read them as they are in the order they are. We might move the order around, but maybe not. Here we have the Page of Swords. The pages are always youthful people. They're the youngest members of the court. They're usually students. They're people that bring news and information. I mean, students want to share what they know. They could be about messages, particularly with the Page of Swords. But the Page of Swords, swords is the air element, so it's an active presence, active versus passive. Earth and water are passive, and air and fire are active, okay? So here we have a guy who's, or a woman, it just depends on how you want to see this. Some pages this looks more masculine in his face, but depending on the type of tarot deck you're using, you're either talking about the page or you're talking about the princess. And then the knight would be the prince, you see, depending on the type of deck. More hermetic-oriented decks, like Thoth Tarot and things like that, they would refer to the page as the princess. So I kind of look at this as a more androgynous person because, guys back in the day wore long hair, so it's hard to know. But we'll just say it's a he. He's leaning into the future. You've got some billowy clouds, kind of, not purely white clouds. And so there's a little bit of deception going on there. He's trying to figure out what the truth is. He's a risk taker. He's vigilant. He's intelligent. He's diplomatic. So again, swords is the air element. So that's the intellect and everything surrounding that. But it's like he's leaning into the future, but he's looking back toward the past. So it's like in other words, he's taking what he's learned and applying it to whatever's happening here in the future. So if you have, in terms of deception, maybe you have past history with somebody that you kind of already know there's something amiss with them. And if you do, that could be an interpretation here of the Page of Swords. To use your intellect, to use your memory, to remember who this person is. We give people a pass an awful lot. we try to rationalize things. We try to forgive things, and that maybe you need to pay a little closer attention to. You let things go, that literally that person then takes a look at that and says, oh, I got away with that. Well, what else can I get away with? Right? They build on that. They assume that you're not going to stand up to them, that you're not going to establish boundaries with them. You're not going to say, I don't want to do business with you, or you just don't do business with them, or I don't really want you at my house, or I really don't want to be your friend. Yes, we know each other, but that's as far as it's going to go, because there's something about that person. Your intuition is telling you this. Another way of saying that is your higher awareness is telling you this, that there's something to be on the alert of with somebody today. And in terms of the Page of Swords and that, I have to think that it's whatever deception he's dealing with here, he's using his memory of past experience to maybe guide him a little bit. So not only intuition that you can use with Sawillow, but also the reason, the memory, the understanding of who someone is, that maybe you didn't want to see before, but now there's been enough evidence, again, evidence would be swords, that you can't ignore that about that person any longer. Then we come to the devil. Here we see our goat-headed figure with wings perched on just a post here. You see a ring here with chains attached, and they're attached to the necks of the little man and the little woman here. See, it's time for me to get up. That's my wake up. I've been up for hours. Anyway, we see his hands, the devil's hands are in the as above, so below stance. Very similar to what you see with the magician, only instead of with the magician, his right hand has got a scroll or a wand, however you want to see that. I see it as a scroll. And it's pointing up towards spirit or towards heaven. Whereas with the devil, you see him holding a torch and it's pointed down toward earth, toward physical form, physical reality. Now, the devil card is an interesting card. It really reflects egoic focus. You see that also with the inverted pentagram here. No, it does not mean Satanism. It doesn't. I mean, it might get co-opted, but that's not what this means. This simply means, if you look at it this way, there's the pentagram correctly. They represent the elements and spirit. But when it's pointed downward, it's pointed down toward form or ego. In other words, the below side of things, all right? And here, are you going to be a slave to your ego? Are you going to be somebody that's going to pay no attention to the higher aspects of things? You're not going to pay attention to your ego, or rather to your intuition. You're not going to pay attention to what you already know to be true. You're simply going to ignore it, and you're going to sit there in total reaction. And you're going to always be on that reactive side of things where you don't take charge of the situation, in other words. But if you're dealing with somebody who's deceptive, you're going to have to do that, aren't you? The Queen of Cups is last. Now, this queen, I love the throne that she sits on. She sits right there at the water's edge. In fact, her cape, if you look at this, it almost blends into the type of river rock or what have you below. The rounded stones that get made that way by the movement of water over them. But here she sits at the water's edge holding a beautiful chalice that she's staring at quite reflectively. You see the cherubs up here and also down here, and then if you could see the other side, there would be one on the other side. The Queen of Cups is a very interesting woman. She's empathic, she's loving, she's patient, she's a healer. She may have trouble setting boundaries if she's a little ill-dignified, but but mostly, and if she does, then she's only so trustworthy. So if that's the case, this could be it could be a woman in authority that you can't trust today. Excuse me. The pollen is crazy, and I'm my throat's a mess. So, but if you don't want to look at it that way, then you can look at being able to be a little more reflective and using your intuition and your empathic awareness to understand the energy of the individual you're dealing with. So I think let's keep it in mind, though. This could mean the person who is the rubiest person is the queen. But if not, then if you don't have a woman or someone who's passive aggressive, if this were the King of Cups, I would say, oh, you've got a passive aggressive man in your life that's trying to manipulate you. And it could be that. It could still be that. It could be a man. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a woman, because you're looking at the qualities, not just the individual on the card when you're looking at the court. You're looking at the qualities therein. So you can't necessarily get hung up on gender here when you're looking at the court cards. Although you can. It just depends on how this is, manifesting in your life. So if there's an older woman in authority who seems to be a little manipulative and trying to manipulate you into believing one thing or another, it could have something to do with that. And you have to get out of the reactionary aspect of self, and you have to invoke the higher self, and you have to be able to see, you know what, something else is going on here. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to make any decisions about anything today until I know more. And that will, trust me, the person who, you'll find out right away if that person is really has your best interests at heart, because then they're going to be like, well, they're going to maybe get a little pushy and insist, well, no, let's make a decision now, or what have you. And it's like, well, why do you need me to do that? Why can't I take, a day to think about it, or a few hours to think about it? Why can't I do that? What's wrong with that? So it's at that point, see, you're already waiting for something. You're waiting for something to be revealed. That's another part with Sawillow. What's going to be revealed today, or over the next couple of days, about someone that maybe you just can't trust. And maybe you've looked past that. Maybe you've needed that person in your life as a means to an end, especially if it's somebody you work for. Maybe you're working for somebody who's very manipulative, and you have to make a decision about that. Swords is also about making decisions. But again, are you a slave to the ego? Are you a slave to the reaction? Or are you going to be able to take a step back, take a step back and say, okay, what is it that you really want here? What are you really trying to say to me here? What are you really trying to achieve here? What do you want to do? And maybe you don't say that to them. Maybe you're saying that to yourself. What does this person want? And I need to be sure of that before I do anything here, before I believe them, before I trust them, again, because something should not be feeling right at this point. And if it doesn't, then you need to pay attention to that. Rubious energy is a really nasty energy. And again, when you see the devil card, normally I wouldn't, I just think of that as a slave to desire, a slave to ego, or whatever. But if that's the one who's being represented by Rubius, maybe that's the energy that you're seeing. You're seeing somebody that's so focused on the self, that's so service to self-oriented, that they can't even move out of it. They lie, they deceive, they cheat, they steal, they con, and that's just who they are. And as hard as it may be to believe that somebody can be like that, because you think, well, I know them, how could they be like that? I know them. Well, no, they can be. And so, there are just people that run around and do this is just how they lead their lives. They don't live the way other people do. They don't think the way other people do. They're very, they view people as their marks. And if you're dealing with somebody like that, accept that as true. And maybe, you'll be able to protect yourself a little better. uh, in terms of the devil card, who are you going to give yourself away to? And do you really want to do that? Do you want to give yourself away and the choices away to somebody who does not have your best interests at heart, who has only their own interests at heart? Again, that's the difference. And I think that with Sawillo, it's really saying invoke higher awareness today, invoke that intuition, invoke empathic awareness. Whatever the energy you're feeling, if something doesn't feel right, because believe me, when someone who's a Rubius energy walks in the room, it changes. The energy changes. Pay attention to that. If you're empathic at all like I am, you're going to know that. If you're intuitive at all like I am, you're going to know that. You're going to know something's off. Even if you cannot understand the entire truth of it at that point, you're going to at some point. You're going to know that this is not somebody that you can ever trust to do anything, to ever tell you the truth. So again, with the Page of Swords, take what you know. Take what you already know that you may have set aside, trying to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, or not judging them, or under the guise of, I'm just accepting this person for who they are. That's fine. But it doesn't mean that you don't see them for who they are. And there's a difference. One is very passive and one is very active, where it's like, okay, I get that this is who you are. I accept that about you. I said that to one guy one time who was extremely manipulative, and I knew that he was manipulating me, and he knew that I knew, and so he's saying the things he's saying to me, and I just said, well, no, he thinks that I'm angry at him. I says, well, no, I accept you for who you are, and he didn't know what to do about that. It got him very upset. Because it's like, oh no, she sees me for who I am. Well, we can't have that. Well, yeah, that's what I think that this is today. Something's going on where you can't be passive about it. You've got to be active. You've got to see things for what they are, even if you don't know the whole picture. If something is telling you something's off, you've got to believe yourself. You've got to trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust your empathic awareness. Trust your higher awareness. Trust all of that before you ever trust that person. And maybe you walk away with the upper hand, leaving that person like totally befuddled. The person does not know what to do at that point. And that's where you want them. They don't want to be there. They want to, control you. But that shouldn't be happening right now. So anyway, I think that I don't think we need another card. I mean, we could take one, I suppose. Nah, we don't need another card. It's just interesting that I pulled Sawillo and Rubius. It's just like, oh boy, that's really big energy on either side of the equation. Again, there's just so much of this going on now, where people expect you to just accept less than what you deserve. It's like the con artists have run amok in this world now, and I think that that's what the Rubius energy is telling us, is that you have to be very, very careful in what you believe anymore, and if someone has a history of lying, you can't expect them to do anything else, really. I don't know that they know how to do anything else. They just, it's almost like they pull everything, out of where, and it's just whatever they need to say at the moment. And it's unsatisfying. You've gotten nowhere with them, and you're not going to get anywhere with them. And so I think that it's again, you're dealing with someone who is a slave to their own ego, and a slave to their own desire and service to self. And I think that how you deal with them is both with intuition and empathic awareness, where you really have to believe the energy that you're feeling. It's not, see, and it's not something that's coming from within you. It's something that is, it's like a, if you've ever heard of the term energy vampire, that's the, that's kind of the issue that I think I'm talking about here, with Rubius. It's the energy vampire who, um, I mean, you could literally feel it. It's like when I'm around somebody that has vampiric energy, I it's very intrusive, and I was around somebody one time, literally, that I discovered later was essentially a sociopath, and that took a little time to realize that, and listening to what other people had said about the person, and it's like, oh, they really are devoid of anything. You know, there's no integrity, there's no compassion, there's no empathy. They have very sociopathic personality, and uh, it's like you feel coated by their energy, and you just want to do this. It's like, you know, who is this person? What am I feeling here? And so often we, because there are feelings, we think that it's coming from inside us when it's not. It's, you know, everything is energy. And so to think that somebody's energy can't affect you, it can. We overlap our auras every time we're near one another. Our auras are overlapping, and if you're with somebody that has got a problem like that, then you're going to feel that energy surround you, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And it's not something that, you know, it's like empaths always say, well, is it mine or is it someone else's? Well, generally speaking, it's somebody else's, and you pick up on that energy. It's just some of us do that all the time and are very, very aware of it. But I'm telling you, everybody picks this up. And so I just think that today, what today's reading is telling us is the empathic awareness of the queen, the intellect and the intuition of the page, uh, uh, blending those things together and finding some way to understand that what you're experiencing is not you, it's somebody else, and you need to be aware of it because it's not energy that's conducive to anything positive. Um, uh, you don't, I mean, if you've ever been around somebody like that, they're creepy. I mean, they're just creepy to be around. And and the creep factor is part of that empathic awareness that you have. Everyone has it. It's just, again, whether or not you acknowledge it and start working with it and starting to understand it a little bit more. You know, I can walk through a grocery store and all of a sudden I get agitated, and it's because I've walked by somebody. There's nothing happening at all, but I've walked by somebody that clearly is feeling agitated, and I picked up on that. I pick up on my husband's change in energy all the time. And in fact, I read that more than I read that in people more than I read anything they say. I think that especially when they're opposite, when they say one thing, but I'm picking up something completely different, then I know that this is what I have to listen to. I have to listen to what I'm picking up instead of what, you know, is being said. And I think that that's it's a, I guess it becomes a skill at some point, but it's something that you have to honor within yourself, and you have to accept within yourself as true. Um, Even if all you do is say to that person, you know what, I've got to take a step back. I'm going to think about things and I'll let you know, or something like that, where you give yourself that space to disconnect from that energy and understand that you don't have to be near someone for this to happen either. It can happen from anyone thinking about you. That energetic connection takes place. And that's why it's always good, I think, especially if you're empathic, to do a daily ritual of, some people call it cutting cords. I don't. I call it just dissolving energetic channels, to just visualize them dissolving, bring back all your energy to you and start over again. If you need to reconnect that energy to somebody else, you can do that. It's fine. But sever the connection for a little while, just to give yourself some time, just for your own energy, just to feel your own higher awareness, your own soul, whatever you want to call that. just so that you feel that, and not what others are trying to put on you. I mean, it can be as simple as somebody who you don't know, that in the grocery checkout line that's just behind you, and they start talking to you about everything personal under the sun. Their energy is sensing your energy is open, and and that you're a compassionate and caring individual, and they just start talking. They don't know you, and maybe when they get done, they're probably thinking to themselves, well, why did I do that? Well, because they sense that that, I mean, that's the simplest form of vampiric energy, and they don't mean it to be. It's just they need to talk to somebody is all, and the boundaries drop, and that's the most probably mild version of it. But then you have others that are way worse than that. There's just some people I can't be around. I just can't be around them. I can't be in the physical space with them. I can't be anywhere near them because the energy from them is just too much. I don't trust it. It doesn't feel right. And it's like the wheels, I can feel the wheels turning. What are they thinking about, So again, very important here. If you feel like you're dealing with somebody that's like this, you have to stay in control. You have to honor what you feel, and know that it's true. Something isn't right about that person, and you need to have a whole lot more information before you know what that is, right? And again, it might turn out to be nothing, but it may turn out to be something that's just that person, and they're a rubious energy where it's all service to self, and they may act like they care about you, but it's only in furtherance of something they want or need, right? It's not really because they care. It's just they want something from you, right? So anyway, what a way to start the weekend, right? I don't know. Thanks for watching, and I hope you click subscribe and come back. It's not always like this. It truly isn't. But this was just strange on an 11 energy day. Oh my goodness, it's like really, the blinking lights, like stop, pay attention. Something's not right here, It's, the hair on fire moment, So anyhow, just, be well and pay attention, and, be sure to honor your own feelings here about all of it, and because they're the ones that matter. The rubious person, they'll be fine. You may not be, so pay attention. Anyway, so anyhow, let's see. I always close with let's see. I'm almost done with the stuff that's going to go out on the blog over at Stepping Aside. That goes out in the midnight hours Sunday morning. I'm almost done with that. The newsletter is also going to go out on Saturday. If you want to sign up for that, you can go over to the blog. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. You can't forget it's HTTPS. Be sure to put the S on there. /2 www.imsteppingaside.com. If you click on more below the video, a little box will open and lots of stuff there, but at the top is the web address for my blog, for my website. So anyway, all that goes up over there. I also write over on Substack, Medium, and Patreon if you want to follow me there. Again, links are in that little box, and when you click on more, there's a bunch of stuff there. Just open it up and look at it, and you'll see anything that interests you is there. Hopefully you'll connect with me in one of those places. If not, just come back here, and I'm here on Mondays and Thursdays. I do those 2 days of the week, and join our little tarot and rune family. It's just fun to explore what the cards have to say and what the runes have to say, and how they can maybe give us something else to think about in terms of how we react to stuff, and how we see our world around us. And but in any event, try to have a good weekend. Get out in the garden if you can, if you have one. If not, go plant some flowers. Go to the store, get a 6-pack, and we're going to go tomorrow, I guess, and get a few things, and that I have not started in seed form, and I can plant that on my deck. Hopefully we won't have any freezing temperatures at the end of the month, because sometimes we do. So I may be bringing everything inside, over Memorial Day weekend, but we'll see. Anyway, Sunday's Mother's Day. If you are celebrating Mother's Day, then have a good day. And we'll talk again on Monday. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.